Between 2003 and 2007, working out of Oklahoma City, the FBI conducted the first widespread human trafficking operation in the United States. Overseen by Special Agent Mike Beaver, Operation Stormy Nights resulted in the conviction of 15 pimps and human traffickers working throughout the American Midwest. Most of the traffickers' victims were young teenage girls.
Angie was one of the girls that was involved in our case here in Oklahoma City. She was a child that came out of Wichita, Kansas, and she came from a good family. She had a mom and dad at home early in her life. She attended public schools initially and then went on to even attend private schools. By all accounts, she was, an all-American girl. She was socialized well and educated well, and everything was going pretty good for her through her adolescence and up to her early teens until she started to experience some issues that led her down a path that she wasn't real proud of.
Probably the year after I went to private school, I started going to a public school, and that was my sophomore year. And I didn't really know who I was. I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. I didn't really get along with my dad for a while, but it was just normal teenage problems. And I just get depressed at school.
Two of her friends approached her, two young kids, a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old in Wichita. And they collectively, these three young girls, said, why don't we run away? And Angie thought it was not a bad idea, and it might give her a break from what she considered to be a lot of crisis in her life. And one of the girls that she was with said, let me call a guy I know in Oklahoma City. And that individual subsequently traveled from Oklahoma City to Wichita, where he picked these three young girls up. Little did they know that he was a pimp.
I started to, feel a little uncomfortable because now I don't even know where we're going. I'm starting to freak out because I don't even know who this guy is. And we were driving past Wichita, going to Oklahoma City, and I was just like, I could just get out right now, and I could go home, and I could tell my parents I'm sorry that I left, and, it could just be all okay right now. And just then, like, as if he was reading my mind, he turns around and he's like, don't even think about asking me to let you out now. You better just tuck and roll. And I was just kind of like, so I'm really going to have to die before I get to go home now.
As you take this young girl and put her in that environment and have her away from her loved ones, she's going to succumb to that pressure. There's threats of, I will go get your family. There's threats of, I'll show these pornographic images to everyone in this town. And he starts to control. And after a very short time, that child has no option but to stay under his command. And for them to break away and to talk to law enforcement or to call and reach out for help, they truly feel, and in some instances it would be safe to say, that their life would come to an end.
We pull up at a truck stop, and it's like an alley just right on the other side of this fence. He tells us to get out. He tells us what kind of prices we're going to charge and exactly what we're going to do. It was like 20 for a blowjob, 40 for sex, and like 80 for both. And so my friend just kind of looks at me, and she's kind of preparing me with her eyes, and then I was just kind of like, I can help you if you help me, and maybe he won't kill us tonight. So we get out of the car, and he informed us we better not come back without any money. We're walking around. There's lots of semis, and there's also a lot of girls out there, and a lot of them are they look like half our age. They look like they could be like 8 or 9 years old. So we go, and we're knocking on doors, and we just try to keep smiling, just try to pretend that I wanted to be there, and maybe I could just convince myself that maybe this will lead to something better, and maybe I'm seeing it wrong. And once we got inside the bed of the truck, I started to just wish I was dead or something. We get in the first truck, and the guy decides he wants me, so I go back there, and I just have to just pray to God, just please help me. Just please let me get through it. And then Melissa went through his wallet. And he had grandkids as old as us. And all I could think about the whole time was how my grandpa could be this guy right now and how that would feel. And I just wanted to die. And then I started to just think that maybe I deserved this for doing this to my parents and to myself. And he didn't have enough money, so we had to go to the next one. And that guy kept his wallet. We just kept praying. And we went to 3 trucks, and we still didn't have enough money. And my friend, she was really upset, 'cause she was like, I think he's really gonna be upset if we don't have any money. And so we had to keep going to trucks. And sometimes we would stop and we would cry. And she kept saying, if you can be strong, I can do it. And I just kept thinking I had to do it because I didn't want anything to happen to her. And I would never forgive myself if he hurt her because I didn't do what I was supposed to do.
Angie, for the most part, came through her tragedy. She's got her feet on the ground and she's moving forward wanting to help people. And has a story that I think represents well what the nation is facing when we look at these kids that are being trafficked domestically right here on our own land.
I'm showing this heartbreaking story by a young girl falling victim of sex trafficking at a very young age. So you will understand that this can happen to anybody. Your daughter, your sister, your neighbor's daughter, anybody. Of course, the less fortunate children, such as runaways, homeless, abused at home, are more likely to fall victims, since they are an easy prey for the pimps. It is estimated that 1 out of 4 runaways will fall victim of child trafficking. A pimp carefully picks his victims and targets the girls and boys with low self-esteem and in need of attention and being loved. A growing number of the victims are boys, and the latest statistics show that as many as 1 out of 3 are boys. Average age of a trafficked girl is 12 years old. Average age of a trafficked boy is 11 years old. These figures are frightening. A trafficking victim seldom survives more than 7 years due to the drug overdose, malnutrition, lack of medical care, and violent abuse. The younger the victim, the shorter the lifespan. Human trafficking is the second most profitable business in the US after drug trafficking and may soon be the first. A person is collateral and can be sold over and over again, which is why the younger victims are more profitable. On average, a pimp makes at least $200,000 a year per victim and generally has numerous victims in order to generate significant income. 10 victims equals a minimum of $2 million a year of tax-free money, all paid in cash. Sex trafficking is often confused with prostitution. Nothing could be more wrong. A trafficked person is a slave to the pimp and receives no money, has no say-so, and no way of escaping. This is not to say that the so-called prostitute has willingly chosen to be one, but he or she does get to keep the money, or at least some of it, even if they have a handler. They are not forced or coerced into prostitution and have a chance to escape. A rape victim is traumatized for a long time. Imagine to be raped 20 times or so every day, which is what a trafficked victim faces. The trauma is beyond comprehension. No one should have to go through such torture, especially not children and young adults. What can you do? Be observant of what goes on around you. If you see something suspicious, do call the police. You can be anonymous if you wish. It is better to call one time too many than not. You may be able to save a life. If you have children, do listen to them. Know where they are at all times, as every public place is a pickup opportunity for a pimp. Be aware of your children's internet use and whom they are communicating with. 76% of transactions with underage girls start on the internet. If we all come together to fight this horrific crime called sex trafficking, we can make a difference.